Hello, this is Basil, or Basil as the Americans call it. Got myself some basil. Right, so I'm always doing this. I always buy some of this from the supermarket whenever I'm doing a tomato and mozzarella salad. So I've had my basil off this plant for my salad, and that's what's left. And what will happen next is that will sit on the window ledge, not get used, go yellow and get put in the bin. I don't want to waste it. So I'm going to do something different this time. I'm going to do something approaching gardening. Right, so my basil, or basil, has been soaking for a good hour. I want it to be fully hydrated before I perform this operation. Incidentally, point of interest, see that wall there? That's the old pig pen. So back in the day, in my cottage, which is 450 years old, the pig would have lived in there. And can you see a hole in the wall there? They would have dropped the slops or the food, the leftover food from the house through that to feed the pig, and then eventually, of course, the pig would end up on the table. Right, I'm going to try and divide this basil so that I get great value for money. I think I've spent about £1.25 on that. We did have a lovely supper, by the way. The tomato and mozzarella salad was wonderful. Right, in that pot there, I reckon there's probably at least 4 plants. I've got 4 pots. It's had a good soak. I've got some grit and some compost and some slow release and some scissors. Let's divide this up. Let's plant it up in these pots. And then, why don't we give some away to friends or even make a herb garden? So I'm just going through it with the scissors. I mean, that was already 2 plants. That's just falling apart. So let's just go again and make another 2 plants with these scissors. They're quite forgiving, things like this, herbs like this. As you know, you can cut and come again with the plant. You can keep taking the leaves off. Right, in fact, look at that. That's fallen off, and that's a little tiny baby plant with the roots on it already. Let's just drop that in that water so it doesn't dehydrate. And again, I'll go through here, straight through the middle. And we've got 4 plants there. I'm going to do something interesting in a moment, so stick around. Right, before we go any further, let's just remove some of these leaves. Now, I'm going to remove these leaves into a bowl because I might just use them in the kitchen later. I'm removing some leaves because I want to reduce the surface area of the leaves because I've damaged the roots, and these are going to carry on transpiring water. So I'll just remove a few of these. What you can start to see actually is when you remove the leaves, you can start to see just in there where fresh leaves are coming. Can you see there? I could probably make 10. I could probably make 10 or 12 little plants out of this. Right, off with a few more leaves, and that can go in a pot ready for planting. Right, and another one. I'm tempted to do another tomato and mozzarella salad later. I'm not taking any care, quite indiscriminately, but I am leaving where the leaves come out of the stalk because that's where it'll shoot. Right, there's our 4 little plants. Yes, let's put that one in that pot. Let's put that in the shade for later. Now let's mix up some potting medium. So there's our 4 plants. I'm actually going to drop them back into the water whilst I mix up the planting medium. Okay, they can go in there. Now these will want moist, well-drained soil. Right, how do I make moist, well-drained soil, and how do I make just enough for the number of pots I've got? Right, well, I shall get a bucket and I shall do a mixture of compost and grit, probably about 30% grit. So if I fill those 2 with grit and these 3 with compost, that's about right. So that can go in there. Incidentally, this grit, brilliant stuff. It opens up the structure. What people forget about plants is not only do they want good drainage, which gets the water away from the roots, they want air around the roots. It's about aeration of the soil as well as drainage. It's one and the same thing. So when you're draining your soil, you're allowing air back into the roots, and grit is a brilliant thing. Now that one there I found that on Amazon for about £13. It's 20 kilograms. And there's one on the RHS website, which is 5 kilograms for £7. So I think that's great value. I'll put a link to it in the description box below this video. So there's 3 compost. And I've not quite filled them. I want to leave a gap at the top so that I can water. Now let's do some grit. Carol Klein is always using grit on telly. We've seen her on Gardener's World, and I don't blame her because it's good stuff. Right, mix it together, and as I say, that is opening up the soil structure. It's making it much more open and loose. It's letting air in. Good stuff. Now it's just a simple matter. Oh, I'm going to put some slow release in. Not particularly organic, I suppose, but it will just give them a longer life. So let's mix the slow release in, so that when those basil plants have exhausted the goodness in the compost, they can start to use up the goodness in that slow release. Next thing I'm going to do is virtually fill these, 2/3. Two-thirds full. Shake it down a bit, make sure it's all even, and then I will very carefully make a small indentation and offer that basil plant into the centre and get a bit of this around. Very, very delicate fibrous roots, so I am being very careful with these. In it goes. Number 4, number 3 I should say. In it goes. There's more compost on the table than there is in the pots at the moment, and there's the 4th one. And there's still a little baby one there which I haven't forgotten about. Right, so those can go there. I am going to very gently and carefully water them in a minute, but let's get this gathered up and put it into that one that's not quite full. And then our final one is that tiny little baby one there. I ought to just snip a few of those leaves off because it's got a very tiny root system. Finger in, root in, firm it gently, top it off. And there we have 5 basil plants for the price of 1. And because I've taken attention and care over these, I will make sure that I keep on top of watering them and making sure that they're okay. And these will not go in the bin. Hope you've enjoyed that. How to make the most out of your shop bought herbs. Right, don't forget, Amazon links below. I really appreciate your support. If you buy through my links, I earn a small commission and it all goes back into my garden projects. And I'll see you soon for some more windowsill herb adventures. Bye for now.